Well, hello everybody, it's me, Mitch, in the kitchen. I bought some beautiful chuck roasts yesterday at Sam's Club, and I'm going to deal with them today. And I'm going to do a couple of different things. One of them is a tried and true deal. One of them is what I did on my most popular video way back in the beginning. And that is slow cook it. It's the simplest thing in the world. I basically just took this beautiful chuck roast, sprinkled a little smoked salt on it, put it in a slow cooker here, set it to low for 8 hours. And after 8 hours, it'll be up to the brim in its own juices, fat, and collagen. I can eat chunks of it. I can shred it up. Can reheat it later for some great meals. So that's the first thing, and that's going to sit here all day and cook. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this other one, and this other piece of meat here is absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, well marbled, doesn't have too many huge areas of fat. It's got this piece right here, which just looks like a great piece of meat. Well marbled. It's got another big hunk of meat here, another piece right in here. So what I thought I would do, and I've never really done this yet, is I'm going to cut a piece of this off. And this is pretty thick. I'll show you how thick this is. This is a pretty good hunk of meat. It's got to be at least 2 inches, 2.5 inches thick. I'm going to cut a piece of this off, maybe a pound of it. This is about 4 pounds. I'm going to vacuum seal it. I'm going to sous vide it for about 3 hours at 130 degrees. And then I'm going to sear it and see if I can't make this piece of chuck resemble in taste and texture what a ribeye might be. I don't know if it's going to work. I've seen other people have claimed to make it work, but I've never tried it myself. But with a piece of meat that looks like this, I think if there's a possibility of me pulling this off, I'm going to do it. And if it works, I'm going to have a fully cooked, medium rare, 2-inch thick, something that resembles a ribeye. So wish me luck. I'm going to start here by cutting this up. And I think the way to cut this up is to make a piece about this big. So let me just cut this right in half first. Wow, this is a really nice looking piece of meat. Look at that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece right off here. I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to vacuum seal it and maybe put a small amount of salt on it. Not too much. I use the Redmond's real salt there. We're going to put this in the bag. Go to the WeVac sealer and turn it on. Set the bag size to medium. Put the bag over the clip under the clip rather, and shut the lid. And that's it. And I'll go ahead and put the rest of the meat back in the refrigerator. And depending on how well this comes out, we'll cut it up into pieces, vacuum seal them, and maybe just put them away to do another time. It's going to be an interesting experiment and something that I've meant to do for quite a while. Okay, we're done. It's vacuum sealed. Look at that. Okay, so I'm done with the vacuum sealer now. So we'll turn it off and I'll just slide it back out of the way. And I will bring in my sous vide. Plug it in. We'll set the temperature to 130 degrees. So the temperature is set to 130 degrees. We're going to time it for 1, 2, 3 hours. I'm going to hit start. And then maybe it'll fit in there, but I may have to move some of this rack around. So let's do that. So we're going to put this in here. Yeah, that fits great in there. Just going to wrap this around so it doesn't unfold. I'm going to set that down in the water. And I'm going to put off my first meal of the day. To slightly afternoon, we will sear this up. I'll be back. We'll see how well it comes out. And see if this isn't, especially when you find a really good-looking, well-marbled piece of chuck, if this isn't the best use case for it, instead of slow cooking. We'll be back, see what happens. You can go to my website at oldguycarnivore.com. On there, I've got a page that says links to stuff I use every day. These links take you to Amazon affiliate links of mine, and when you buy something through these links, it helps support the channel. Here is everything I use, every kitchen tool, gadget, and everything else. If you think, and there's no obligation, but if you think you might want to get some of the stuff that I use in my videos and do this yourself, whether it be food, supplements, kitchen appliances, tools, gadgets, frying pans, whatever, I would really appreciate it. oldguycarnivore.com. Links to stuff I use page. Doesn't cost you a dime more, and you're really helping me continue to do what I do. Thanks so much, and let's get back to it now.
Meanwhile.
Well, we're back, and it is about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The sous vide is done over here, and my chuck is cooking away. Let's take a look at that just so you can see what it looks like. And as you can see, it's cooking away. It's a little over halfway done now, I think. With 3 hours and 55 minutes left, 54 minutes left to go. So we're going to start. We're going to start here by getting our carbon steel pan ready to sear. Dare I call it a steak? We'll see. We'll see. So we're going to put some butter in the pan and let it start to heat up. Going to get our meat out of the sous vide, and we'll turn that off. I have my rustic, primal wood plate to eat this steak off of. We're going to cut this open. And I always like to dry it off before I sear it. I already salted it, so let's see what we got here. It kind of looks like a steak. Seems very tender, squeezing it like this. Wow, how about that? Looks good, and it should be cooked all the way through. Well, that's interesting. Okay, let's sear away, and let me turn on the range hood. You'll pardon the noise. And we'll start by searing the outside edges. Sous videing and searing meat is a very simple thing to do, and it takes very little time. But like slow cooking, you can't really count the cooking time as work. This thing sat in the sous vide bath at 130 degrees for 3 hours. But that didn't take up any of our time. And you got a couple of minutes after you pull it out of the sous vide bath where you sear it off and then eat it. So it's a very, very simple way of cooking, especially steaks. It's one of my favorite ways of cooking steaks. In fact, I have to say it is my favorite way of cooking steaks. You can finish it any number of ways. You can sous vide it and then finish it off on the barbecue grill. You can sous vide it and sear it. The whole idea of the sous vide is to cook the entirety of the meat up to the desired temperature, in this case 130 degrees. So unlike cooking the whole steak in a pan, it doesn't have to sit in a pan for a really long time, as the heat travels from the outside to make sure that the inside temperature is what you want. It's cooked exactly what you want before you actually start searing it off. And then you put it in a hot pan like this. You sear it for a minute to a minute and a half aside, and you've got it. So we'll let that sit for about a minute on that side and flip it over. I'm curious about two things. I'm curious to see if the flavor is like a ribeye. You'd think it was, it's still beef, but there seemed to have been a discussion in our group about which cut of beef tastes better. And it's interesting to ponder whether it's not just taste that you're experiencing. It may be how chewy is it and how you seasoned it. So this thing pretty much cooked like a ribeye, sous vide and then seared. And that gives you this nice brown, seared top. And we'll see how that comes out. So this is about done. And there we have it. The moment of truth. Let's slice into this thing and see what it looks like inside. This ought to be interesting. Wow, look at that. That does look like That looks almost like a, whoops, that looks almost like a piece of filet mignon. Wow. So let's cut off another piece of it here. It's perfectly cooked. Cut off a bite and see what it tastes like. Well, it's actually edible. It's not bad. It's not bad. It definitely is not as tender as a ribeye. There's no doubt about that. It's not a ribeye. It's chuck. You are going to get a workout chewing it up. The flavor is great. Looks great. I think that I'm going to take another piece of this, maybe tomorrow, and I'm going to sous vide it for 12 hours instead of 3. Because what happens when you sous vide a tougher cut of meat for a long time, just like slow cooking it in the slow cooker, it will tenderize it more. I've done some chuck cooks where I actually sous vide it for 36 hours and they came out great, but I was looking for something a little quicker that didn't have to go overnight to make a chuck. This is good. This is edible. I'm going to eat this and I'm going to enjoy it. But it's going to require a little more chewing than I would like, but not so much as to be inedible. It's not bad, but it's not fabulous like I like things to come out. So my friends, there you have my adventure cooking a beautiful thick chuck steak, exactly like I'd cook a ribeye, and actually being almost pleasantly surprised at the results of it. But I can do better, and I'm going to try. Thanks for watching this. I'll keep you up to date on what happens. And with all that being said, take the rest of the day off and eat meat.